Okay, so hello everyone. Welcome back to the PC seminar. Today we have with us Nidhi Purohit from University of Bergen, and she'll be talking about parameterized complexity of categorical clustering with the size constraints. So thank you for offering to give this talk, Nidhi. Over to you now.
Thank you so much, Pratibha, for having me here. Good morning or evening, everyone. And I believe that I won't be able to see the chat while speaking. So if anyone has questions or in case I'm too fast or too slow, please feel free to interrupt in between. I hope you like the talk. So I'll be talking about some clustering problems and their variance from the perspective of parameterized complexity. It's a joint work with Feder-Formin and Peter Palovich. So let's first understand the title of the presentation, categorical clustering. So what do we mean by categorical clustering? So in a categorical clustering problem, we're given an m cross n matrix over a finite alphabet sigma, integers k and b. The task is to partition these columns into k parts, which we'll call clusters, and find vectors c1, c2, ck, which we'll call medians, such that the sum of within the clusters, the Hamming distance of the columns of a cluster to their corresponding medians doesn't exceed the budget B, which we'll call cost of clustering, where the Hamming distance between any two vectors is the number of the indices at which they differ. So for here, vector A and B, one can observe that they differ at first and second index. So the Hamming distance between vector A and B is 2. So for given a decision problem of a clustering, a solution is comprises of a set of k clusters, their corresponding medians, such that the cost of clustering should not exceed the given budget. Let's try to understand with the help of an example. So here we are given a say 3 cross 9 matrix. K is 3 and B is 2. So the task is to seek for a clustering with 3 clusters with their corresponding medians such that the cost of clustering doesn't exceed the budget B. So one of the cluster could be I1, which looks something like this. Now we need to compute its corresponding median and its corresponding cost. To compute the median of a cluster I1, we'll use the majority rule. The rule says that the ith index of a median C1 is 0 or 1, depends whether 0 or 1 has majority occurrence in the corresponding row in cluster I1. By that I mean that in vector C1, its first value is 0 because in row R1 in cluster I1, the majority occurrence is of 0. However, we don't have 1 here, assuming that sigma is 0, 1. So the majority 0 has a majority occurrence. Therefore, the vector C1, the value of its at first index is 0. In case of ties, we can break it arbitrarily, but for our purpose, when 0 and 1 has an equal occurrences, we would take 0 instead of 1. So similarly, we can compute the value of median C1 at second index and third index respectively. So for a cluster I1, now we have its corresponding median by the majority rule. Now, the next task is to...
Yeah, sorry, it is just one question. It says, do the clusters form a partition of the columns of A?
Yes. Yes, they do form the partition of columns A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Welcome. So yeah, so now we have to compute the cost of cluster I1. As I mentioned before, the cost of a cluster I1 would be the Hamming distance between its column with its median C1. So if you consider the first column of this cluster, its Hamming distance with the median C1 is 0 because they don't differ at any index, and Hamming distance between two vector is the number of the indices at which their value differ. Similarly, for vector, for the second column in cluster I1, the Hamming distance is 0, so for the third and fourth column. Therefore, the cost of this cluster I1 is 0. Similarly, we can compute, because we want 3 clusters, so we can compute cluster I2, I3, their corresponding medians by majority rule and their corresponding cost. So now, in order to have a solution, we need to have 3 clusters, which are the partition of matrix, their corresponding medians, and we need to ensure that the cost of clustering should not exceed the budget. So now let's see the cost of clustering. So the cost of clustering would be the cost that you paid in order to form cluster I1, I2, I3 respectively, is 0, 0, 0, which is 1, and B budget we had was 2, so it's at most, it's less than the budget that has been prescribed to us. Yeah. So now we have 3 clusters, their corresponding medians, such that the cost of clustering doesn't exceed the budget. But in this talk, we would consider the generalized version of categorical clustering, where in addition, we have a certain size constraints on the size of the clusters. By that I mean that in the input, we have 2 non-negative integers, say P and Q. And now in the solution, we seek for the partition of the columns, the corresponding medians, such that the cost of clustering is at most budget, plus an additional condition that each of the clusters in the solution should have a size at least P and at most Q. Let's get back to an example again, that considering matrix A, now we need to have 3 clusters with a budget 2, and the size of each cluster in the solution should be at least P, and it should be at most P, which is 2, and at most Q, which is 3. As before, we can compute cluster I1, its corresponding median, again using the majority rule, and its corresponding cost. Same for I2, I3. One can observe that the cost of the clustering is 2, which is less than the budget prescribed to us. Moreover, in capacitated clustering, we need to check that in our solution, the size of each of the cluster should be within the prescribed limit. So here, the limit we had was the lower bound should be 2, and it should be upper bounded by 3. Here, when we check a solution I1, I2, and I3, it's visible that each of these clusters has size 3, which means it satisfies the size constraints. So we have a categorical clustering. We add size constraints on the clusters of the solution, and now we call it capacitated clustering. So in ICAT 2018, Feder et al. Proved that categorical clustering is FPT when parameterized by B, which is budget, by giving an algorithm which runs in function of B and linear input size. So one of the trivial question arises is that does the cluster size constraints affect the parameterized complexity of the problem? As I mentioned before, that in capacitated clustering, the clusters in the solution have size at least P and at least Q. So the question is that once we add the constraints on the sizes of the clusters, does it affect the complexity of the problem or not? An answer is no. From the parameterized complexity perspective, on adding the constraints on the sizes of the clusters in the solution doesn't affect the complexity of the problem at all. So we prove this by given an algorithm which runs in time function of B and size of the alphabet and linear input size. I must say that throughout the presentation, the sigma would be a binary alphabet. That is, it would either take value 0 or 1. So we are going to prove that capacitated clustering is FPT when parameterized by budget and the size of the alphabet. Yeah. There are some remarks that this dependence on sigma cannot be made polynomial because it was shown by Fomin, Golovich, and Simonov in 2021 that categorical clustering is W1 hard when parameterized by budget and number of rows, where the sigma was an infinite alphabet. So one can observe that it's straightforward to see that these results hold for sigma when sigma is from 0, 1 to n minus 1, because a measure is the Hamming distance. So for each row of the input matrix, we can replace the original symbols by the symbols of sigma, where sigma is from 0 to n minus 1, in such a way that the original symbols in the row are same if and only if new symbols are the same. So clearly this replacement gives us an equivalent instance, and this immediately leads to the following proposition that capacitated clustering is W1 hard when parameterized by budget and number of rows. And we already know that this problem is NP hard for k equals to 2 and for sigma is 0, 1. That is for a binary alphabet. So throughout the presentation, I will be revolving around this result. So one can observe that this theorem extends the previous result. By that I mean the categorical clustering is FPT when parameterized by budget B by Feather et al. In ICAL 2018 to a significantly more general model in which the size of the clusters in the solution has certain size bound. So for the rest of for the following slides, I would like to draw your attention towards the difference in both the approaches and what all issues did we encounter while using the approaches, and how did we mitigate those issues in our case of capacited clustering. So let's first understand what they have done. So their result was that categorical clustering is FPT when parameterized by budget. Let's see their approach through our old and good example, 3x9 matrix. Here I have colored these columns, so please don't confuse it with something new, just to ease the explanation. So we have a matrix. We need to partition into 3 parts, their corresponding medians, such that cost of clustering should not exceed budget, which is 2. So here, this is an optimal solution, which we obtain. From now, I'm going to use the 2 terms, which is initial cluster and composite cluster, where a cluster is said to be an initial cluster where all of its columns are identical. For example, I1, it has all the identical columns, I2, and a cluster is said to be a composite cluster if it has at least 2 distant columns. So the observation these people have used that the identical columns can cluster together in a cluster of optimal solution. By that I mean, here one can observe that all the blue colored columns can be clustered together in, say, cluster I1, so as all the identical columns which are colored orange, and so on. So the solution could be seen as the partition of initial clusters. That is, the solution can be seen as the partition of the chunk of identical columns. Therefore, the clusters are not split. It's also easy to see that once we collect all the identical columns together, it doesn't add anything to the cost. Because if you consider cluster I1, which consists of all the identical columns, its corresponding median will be the one of the column. So the cost of clustering this particular cluster would be 0. So having such an observation and property helps. So once they have this property, what they do is that they know that for a yes instance, the number of initial clusters which would be a part of composite cluster of a solution is at most 2b. They use color coding and they highlight the composite cluster which consists of given initial clusters. And then they use this very crucial lemma in which they proved that they can list all the potential medians for a k clustering of cost at most b of a matrix A in time F18 B. And for this, they have used a very non-trivial result of Marx about the enumeration of hypergraphs. So once they highlight the initial clusters in a single composite cluster in a solution through color coding, this initial problem now reduce in selecting a composite cluster of minimum cost given the number of initial clusters, and then this problem can be solved using this crucial lemma. However, in our case, where we want solution, the clusters in the solution should have certain size constraints, we aren't that lucky, because consider the same example that we have 3x9 matrix. We want to partition it into 3 parts called clusters, find their corresponding medians. By now we know how to do that. And then budget is 2. The size of cluster should be at least 2 and at most 3. So here, since we have constraints on the clusters, you can observe that here this initial cluster, these blue colored columns are now split. Because of the size constraints in the solution, the splitting of initial clusters is inevitable. So therefore, we cannot exploit their approach by considering the single composite clusters in the solution, because now the composite clusters are not independent of each other. So splitting of initial clusters between clusters of solution is not possible for us because of size constraints. Therefore, we cannot select composite clusters independent of each other. Still, we have a hope. And for that, to mitigate this issue, the main insight that allows us to overcome this issue is a very specific structure of possible splitting of initial clusters. So what we did is we have a clustering of this matrix, and then we consider another partition of the columns into initial clusters. And then we define an intersection graph Gij on these vertices. This intersection graph is a bipartite graph with the vertices I union j, and two vertices have an edge between them if their corresponding partition has a non-empty intersection. So now the crucial property that we obtain about this intersection graph is that there is an optimal solution such that this intersection graph, which is defined on these two partitions, one is the clustering of the matrix and another is the partitioning of matrix into initial clusters, is a forest. Moreover, this forest has a size bounded by the function of b. That means that each vertices and connected components are a function of b, and there should be at least 3 vertices for such solution. So here the black nodes corresponds to the initial clusters, and these white nodes corresponds to the composite clusters. Yes. So now, since for an optimal solution, we know that this intersection graph is going to be a forest. So now we can guess the structure. And this guessing can be done by brute force because the number of the vertices are bounded by a function of b. So in order to find a solution given a forest, this guessing can be helpful. Yes, so to find the solution, if we have a forest, we'll use a dynamic programming over it, and then further using color coding and our crucial lemma, we would solve the problem. So for the rest of the talk, I would like to dwell a bit into the algorithmic sketch for this result, which says that capacited clustering is FPT when parameterized by budget B and the size of the input alphabet. Yeah. So firstly, we'll consider number of composite clusters where we denoted by T in a solution. So we are given a solution, number of the composite clusters are the clusters which consist of at least two distant columns. It can be 0 or at least 1. So and for each this composite cluster, we'll check whether we have solution with exactly that number of composite clusters or not. So if the number of clusters in a solution is 0, that means the solution consists of the initial clusters. That further means the solution is consists of the chunks of identical columns, and this can be solved efficiently. But in case when T is at least 1, that is solution consists of one composite cluster, it means that the budget should also be at least 1, because B can only be 0 if there is no composite cluster in the solutions. I'm repeating, a cluster is said to be initial cluster when it consists of identical columns, whereas a composite cluster consists of at least two distant columns. So now we have number of composite clusters at least B, and the cost is also at least B. So on the number of initial clusters, that is clusters consisting of identical columns, in a yes instance, it has to have at most 2B, because in a yes instance, the budget is at most B. So the number of the composite clusters cannot be more than B. And each composite cluster consists of at least two initial clusters. So in a yes instance, the number of initial clusters are at most 2B. And since this intersection graph is a forest and T is at least 1, the number of initial clusters is at least 2T plus 1. So precisely, the number of initial clusters are at least T plus 1 and at most 2B. So now for a fixed number of initial clusters, we'll uniformly at random, we'll color these initial clusters with L colors. And if the initial clusters whose intersections with the clusters of the solutions have distinct colors, then that clusters of the solution would be called as the colorful solution. So given a random coloring of the initial cluster, J is the partition of the matrix A into the initial clusters. And initial clusters consisting of identical columns from color 1 to L. And for finding the colorful solution, what we do is that we'll guess the structure of the forest, which is the intersection graph, I prime and J prime, for every subset of composite clusters where I prime was a composite cluster and J prime was the initial clusters. I and J, I was the clustering of matrix A, and J was the partition, and Ji, J was an intersection graph, which was defined on these two partitions. Yeah. So the main idea is that we consider all forest on T plus L vertices. T is number of composite clusters, and each composite cluster consists of at least two identical columns. The number of, in a yes instance, the number of composite clusters are at most B. L is number of initial clusters, and the number of initial cluster in a yes instance is 2B. So precisely, we have to consider all forest on 3B vertices such that each connected components has at least 3 vertices. So here, these black vertices corresponds to the initial vertices, initial clusters, and this white node corresponds to the composite cluster. Secondly, this forest must admit a bipartition U and W, where the number of the vertices in U is equal to the number of composite clusters, and number of vertices in set W should be equal to the number of initial clusters. And the leaves of the forest are in this W. So since I have mentioned before that these leaves in our intersection graph, which should be a forest, correspond to initial clusters, in this forest, these leaves must correspond to the set W, which in precisely are nothing but the set of the initial clusters. So now, since these leaves of the forest are in W, so this bipartition is unique. So we have considered all the forest on 3B vertices such that each connected component has at least 3 vertices. The forest admit a bipartition where the set of the vertices in U is of cardinality T, whereas the cardinality of set W is L, and the leaves of forest are in W. So now we have a forest with a bipartition. We have a mapping, a coloring of the W vertices to 1 to L, because now we map these vertices which corresponds to the leaf of the forest, leaf of the tree, corresponding to the initial clusters. Now we need to construct clustering. Given a forest, we need to construct its corresponding clustering. And for this, we will use dynamic programming. So consider we have, say, F connected components of a forest, which looks something like this, where each component has at least 3 vertices. It admits a bipartition UV, where the cardinality of U is T and cardinality of the initial clusters is L, and the leaves correspond to the vertices of set W. Note that the clustering for each of the component can be done independently, because the initial clusters, the colors of initial clusters, which are associated with the vertices of distinct components, are disjoint. Therefore, assuming that each component is a tree, without loss of generality, we can take one of the tree and can do the dynamic programming over these trees. So let's consider one of the tree of this forest. We select a vertex from set U as a root of this forest, so that in order to perceive for DP, we have established a parent-child relationship. Now, for every vertex of this forest, we would define a subtree rooted at this vertex X, including vertex X itself. Yeah. So now we'll compute the auxiliary values for each of the vertex in the forest. We know that forest has two types of vertex. one from the set U and another set of vertices from set V. So since for every vertex W, we have colored it. We have alpha, which colored each of these vertices with the 112 color. Suppose this vertex, which belongs to set W, is being colored with color C. Corresponding to this vertex W, we can have set of initial clusters which has color C, and we define those set of initial clusters at JC. And for a vertex U, we list all the for the node U, we have list of all the potential medians which we computed from crucial lemma. So precisely for this forest, for a vertex W and U, we have to compute the auxiliary values of the table. So here I would not dwell down into the exact formal auxiliary values and the values of the table. I would rather give a high level idea that how did we go about it. So if you consider a vertex W, it's colored with color C by function alpha, and JC is this set of the initial clusters corresponding to this vertex W, because each of these black node corresponds to an initial cluster, and each of this white node precisely corresponds to a composite clusters. So for each vertex W, we would split it. And how do we split it? We'll split these initial clusters among the clusters which are in the neighbor of vertex W in this forest. So one can observe that the neighbors of vertex W in this forest are these composite clusters. So while forming the clustering of cost at most B, we would take this vertex, its corresponding initial cluster, and split it among the composite clusters which are neighbors of this vertex W in this forest. So we'll split every initial cluster. However, for every composite cluster, which by that crucial lemma, we have list of potential medians with us. So we will construct it. And how do we construct it? We need to ensure that while constructing this composite cluster, we will take its neighboring initial clusters into account. But how many vertices, how many columns of this initial cluster that should go in vertex U, that is for this vertex U, how many of its initial clusters should contribute to its construction depends which initial cluster help it to attain the minimum cost. So we'll go through all the medians, and then this vertex U, its corresponding composite cluster, will take columns from its neighboring initial clusters in such a way that the cost of clustering doesn't exceed the budget B. So yeah, this is it. For every vertex W, we'll split it, initial cluster, and for a composite cluster, we'll construct it. So to compute these table values, it would take us some function of B and size of the alphabet time and linear input size, which from now I will say T time. So once we have these table values and we have this forest and alpha, that means we can construct the clustering of cost at most B in this much time. Once we have the coloring for the initial clusters, a solution with T composite clusters whose intersection with initial cluster, that is a colorful solution, also takes the T time. Furthermore, to check whether the instance has an acyclic solution, here acyclic solution just simply means that we have a forest. The solution should be a forest because we have proved that if there exists an optimal solution, then it has to have a forest. So to have an acyclic solution, given composite clusters and initial clusters, such that in the solution the intersection is non-empty, would also take some t time. And finding an acyclic solution given number of initial clusters and composite cluster for a S instance is equivalent to finding a solution for capacitated clustering. So capacitated clustering can also be solved in t time, which is a function of B and input size and linear in the function of B and size of the alphabet and linear in input size. In other words, capacited clustering is FPT when parameterized by B and size of the alphabet. So yeah, so for the people who are interested, there are some open problems. So first could be capacited clustering, checking whether capacited clustering admits a polynomial kernel when it's parameterized by K and B. I must mention that capacited clustering when parameterized by B doesn't admit a polynomial time kernel. And this result is very well comes from the categorical clustering of the same paper of Feder et al. Oh, in our set of problems, we also consider certain variants of the clustering problem. One of them was balanced clustering. In this, the size of the clusters, it's not between a bound P and Q. Rather, for every pair of the clusters, this difference of the size must differ by a non-negative integer delta. And one of the plausible question is that, does it admit a polynomial kernel when parameterized by K and B? We have proved that it admits a kernel with a combined parameterization K, B, and delta. Another variant could be factor balanced clustering. And in this clustering, the constraints on the sizes of the clusters would be that for every pair of the vertices, every pair of the clusters, the size should differ by some alpha, which is at least 1. And one can also check whether it admits a polynomial kernel when parameterized by K and K plus B or not. And note that categorical clustering has a polynomial kernel when it parameterized by K and B. I must mention that there's another variant of this problem called equal clustering, where the clusters in the solution should have equal size. And as far as I'm aware, it's already proved that this problem doesn't admit a polynomial kernel. And when parameterized by B, and it's still open to check whether it admits a polynomial kernel when parameterized by K and B. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for listening. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the wonderful talk, Nidhi. I guess we can take some time for questions. So if anybody has questions, you can just unmute yourselves and ask, or if you prefer, you can type in the chat. Okay, there's one. Does there exist any relation to the capacitated K median problem?
Yeah, it's capacited K median only. Yeah, so it's capacited K median only. The problem is the same because we are finding the K median, so it's same.
Okay.
Wait, sorry, in the K-median problem, we also require it to be a metric space, right? So we need the distances to be metric and so on.
So here we have Hamming distance, right? Hello?
Yeah, sorry.
So here we have Hamming distance, right? because we are just considering a binary matrix 0, 1. So it's more plausible to take a Hamming norm rather than taking any other metric, because in that case, we probably go to, it would be better if you check means instead of median, and it's a categorical clustering. So the data also comes from certain category and it comes from a finite set of categories.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
All right, any more questions? Okay, I don't see anything in the chat and everybody is muted. So I guess there are no more questions. So, all right then. Thank you once again, Nidhi, for the talk.
Thank you
It
so
was
much,
great to have
everyone, for
you.
listening.
Yeah, it was great.
Thank you so much.
All right then. Thanks to the audience for being around. We conclude our session for today here itself, and see you all next week. Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye.
much, everyone.